The most nutrient-dense food you can grow isn't in any garden. It's a 10-day-old seedling sitting on a kitchen windowsill, and the store charges $6 for what costs you about 40 cents. But the first dozen trays I grew, every single one failed. White fuzz, pale stringy stems that toppled over like wet noodles. And one tray, this still stings, a completely healthy crop I dumped in the trash because I thought I'd ruined it. I hadn't. I just didn't know what I was looking at. There's one step almost nobody online mentions, and it's the entire difference between a tray of food and a tray of mold. I'll show you that step. And I'll show you the tray I should never have thrown away. One tray the size of a dinner plate can replace a whole shelf of grocery store greens, and it grows in a spot that gets no real sunlight half the year. This is what I used to buy. $6, a few sad sprigs of pea shoots picked days ago, shipped cold, half of it slimy by the time I opened it. I was eating maybe 2 real servings out of a box that cost more than a pound of actual vegetables. This is what replaced it. Same footprint as a dinner plate. It sits on my kitchen windowsill year-round. January, July, doesn't matter, because it never sees real weather. No backyard, no garden beds, no waiting for a season. You plant on a Sunday, and you're cutting fresh greens before the next Sunday. I'm going to walk you through every benefit that makes these worth growing, the exact step-by-step to grow your own, the one trick that stops mold dead, and the 3 mistakes that wrecked every tray I tried before I figured this out. 9 out of 10 beginners kill their very first tray, and they almost all do it for the same handful of reasons. I managed to hit every one of them. My first tray I dumped seeds on, like I was salting fries, piled 3 deep. 4 days later, the whole surface was a spiderweb of white mold, and it smelled like a damp basement. Threw it out. Second tray, I got scared of mold, so I barely watered, and I grew them in a dim corner. They came up pale yellow, stretched 6 inches tall, reaching for light that wasn't there, and collapsed in a tangle. Inedible. Third tray actually looked good until harvest morning. I peeled back the cover and saw fuzzy white webbing at the base of every stem. Mold again, I figured. I'd worked 10 days for nothing. Into the compost it went. I found out 2 weeks later that wasn't mold at all. I'll come back to that because that mistake is the most common one beginners make, and it makes you throw away perfect food. Every one of those trays failed for a reason I couldn't see at the time, and it all came down to misunderstanding what a microgreen actually is. Here's the part that breaks people's brains. A baby plant can hold more nutrition than the full-grown vegetable it would have become. You're not gardening. Stop thinking like a gardener. A microgreen is not a plant you're raising. It's a seed's first explosive burst of energy, caught and harvested at its peak. Here's what's happening inside that seed. It's packed with everything the future plant will need to launch. Concentrated vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, all crammed into the tiny package. When it sprouts, it pours all of that into 1 or 2 baby leaves in the first week or 2 of life. That's the window. That's why a microgreen can't out-nutrient the adult vegetable. You're harvesting the concentrated launch fuel before the plant spreads it thin across a big leafy body. Which means your whole job is simple. Give that seed darkness to wake up, light to green up, air so it doesn't rot, and then cut it at the right moment. That's it. Not months. Not fertilizer schedules, days. So, let's talk about why that little burst is so good for you. Scientists have measured some of these greens at several times the vitamins of the same vegetable full grown, and for a few of them, the gap is even wider than that. 1. Nutrient density. Researchers at the University of Maryland tested dozens of microgreen varieties and found many carried far higher concentrations of vitamins and antioxidants than their mature versions, several times higher on average, and for specific nutrients in specific greens, dramatically more. Red cabbage microgreens, for example, came back loaded with vitamin C and vitamin E. You're eating a vegetable that's been concentrated down. 2. Broccoli microgreens specifically. These are the famous one. They're rich in a compound called sulforaphane, which has been studied for decades. A lot of that research came out of Johns Hopkins for its potential role in supporting the body's defenses. If you grow one variety, a lot of people start here. 3. Speed. Most varieties go from seed to harvest in 7 to 14 days. There is almost no other food on earth you can grow and eat that fast. 4. Space. A tray the size of a placemat feeds you. No yard, no balcony required. A windowsill is a farm now. 5. Cost. A bag of seeds that costs a few dollars will outyield dozens of those $6 grocery boxes. The math gets absurd in your favor fast. 6. Variety and flavor. Radish microgreens are spicy like a fresh horseradish kick. Pea shoots taste like sweet raw peas. Sunflower is nutty and crunchy. Mustard will clear your sinuses. You're not eating health food. You're eating something that actually tastes like something. That's the case for growing them. Now, let me show you exactly how, start to finish. From a dry seed to food on your plate is 6 steps and about 10 days. And step 5 is the one almost everyone skips. Step 1, the seeds. Buy seeds sold for microgreens or sprouting, untreated. The easiest beginner crops are radish, broccoli, and pea shoots. Fast, forgiving, hard to kill. Big seeds like peas and sunflower do better if you soak them in water for 6 to 8 hours first. Small seeds like broccoli and radish, you can sow dry. Step 2, the tray. You want a shallow tray, an inch or 2 deep. The classic setup is 2 trays stacked. One with drainage holes that holds the soil, sitting inside a solid one with no holes. That second tray is the secret to watering. I'll get to it. Step 3, the medium. Fill the whole tray with about an inch of moist potting mix or coconut coir. Level it, press it gently flat. Don't pack it like concrete. Pre-moisten it so it's damp like a wrung-out sponge, not soaking. Step 4, sow dense but not stupid. This is where I went wrong first. You sow microgreens thickly, way thicker than normal planting, seeds almost shoulder to shoulder across the whole surface, but not piled in layers. A single dense sheet of seeds touching each other. Pile them 3 deep, and the bottom ones rot, and you get mold. 1 even layer. Step 5, the blackout. Don't put them in the window yet. Cover the tray with another tray flipped on top, blocking all light, and leave it for 3 to 4 days. Darkness tells the seeds to germinate and pushes the stems to grow tall and even, all reaching at once. Some growers even set a light weight on top for the first couple days. It makes the roots dig in harder and the stems come up stronger. Check once a day, mist, if the surface looks dry, recover. Step 6, bring them to the light. Once they've sprouted and are lifting the cover, usually day 3 or 4, take the lid off and move them to your brightest window or under a cheap grow light. They'll go from pale to vivid green in a single day. Give them light for most of the day from here on. Here's the part that saves your entire crop. And it's the exact opposite of what almost every other video will tell you to do. Stop watering from the top. I know every other video shows someone misting the leaves with a spray bottle. That spray bottle killed half my early trays. Water sitting on a dense, humid canopy is exactly what mold wants. Instead, once the roots have reached down, usually by day 4 or 5, you water from the bottom. Pour water into that solid outer tray. Set the seedling tray into it for a few minutes, and the roots drink up what they need through the drainage holes. The leaves stay bone dry. The roots stay hydrated. Mold loses. And the $12 tool that changed everything for me. A small clip-on fan. That's it. Air movement. I clip a cheap desk fan near the trays for a few hours a day. Moving air dries the surface, strengthens the stems, and makes it nearly impossible for mold to take hold. I almost didn't bother. Felt like overkill for a kitchen windowsill. It's the single biggest reason my trays stopped failing. Bottom water, moving air, dense but single layer seeding. Do those 3 things and mold basically disappears. People throw away perfectly healthy, edible food every single day because of a patch of white fuzz that isn't what they think it is. I was one of them. Remember my 3rd tray? The one with the white webbing at the base that I dumped in the compost. That wasn't mold. Those were root hairs. Every microgreen grows a fine, fuzzy white halo of tiny hairs right at the soil line where the stem meets the root. It looks alarming. It looks exactly like mold to a beginner. And people throw away perfect, healthy trays every single day because of it. Here's how to tell them apart, and you'll never get it wrong again. Root hairs are a neat, even, fuzzy collar right at the base of each stem. Uniform, all in the same spot, and they have no smell. Mist them with a little water, and they flatten down and basically vanish, then fluff back up. Mold is different. Mold is a patchy, cobweb-like film that spreads across the surface and climbs the stems, not just at the base. It often shows up in spots, not evenly, and it smells. Musty, sour, like a wet basement. Spray it and it doesn't reattach. It just sits there looking wrong. Root hairs, fuzzy collar, no smell, harmless. Mold, webby, spreading, musty, toss it. I lost 10 days of work because I didn't know the difference. You won't. 3 small mistakes are behind almost every failed tray. And the good news is, you can fix all 3 before you plant a single seed. 1. Seeding too thick, in layers. A dense single sheet, yes. A pile 3 deep, no. The bottom rots. Even layer only. 2. Top watering and dead air. The 2 things mold needs are a wet canopy and still humid air. Bottom water and run a fan, and you remove both. 3. Harvesting too late. Microgreens are best when the first little leaves, the seed leaves, are fully open. Somewhere around day 7 to 14, depending on the crop. Wait too long chasing bigger plants, and the flavor turns bitter and the stems get tough. Cut them with clean scissors just above the soil. Give them a gentle rinse, dry them off, and store them in the fridge. Eat within about a week. A few dollars of seeds can outproduce dozens of those $6 grocery boxes. And the math only gets more ridiculous the longer you keep going. That tray I threw in the compost, the healthy one, I think about it every time I cut a new batch. I'd done everything right and quit at the finish line over a misunderstanding. Now, I run trays on a rotation. I start a new one every few days, so there's always something to cut. A bag of seeds that cost me a few dollars has produced more greens than I could eat, for months. The grocery clamshell sits on my shelf, empty, as a reminder of the $6 I used to hand over for wilted pea shoots shipped from 3 states away. 3 weeks ago, a friend told me she couldn't grow anything, that she kills every plant she touches. I gave her a tray, a bag of radish seeds, and the 3 rules. She sent me a photo of her first harvest 9 days later. First try. That's the whole point. This isn't gardening. It's almost impossible to fail once you know the bottom water, the air flow, and the difference between root hairs and mold. If you're standing in your kitchen right now, wondering if you can do this on a windowsill with 0 experience, you can. Get 1 tray, 1 bag of radish seeds, and start this weekend. You'll be eating it before the seeds would even have sprouted in a real garden. I post one of these every 2 weeks. The next one is on the 5 microgreen varieties that give you the most food for the least effort. I tested a dozen, and 3 of them weren't worth the tray space, and I'll tell you which. If you want to grow your own food without a garden, subscribe so you catch it. Drop your questions in the comments. The one I get asked most is whether you can reuse the soil after harvest. Short answer, not really, and I'll explain why next time.